I am waiting with bated breath for Thomas to get that first update of his open world vision for the game afloat. I really want to see it. I really want to see more stuff to do in sector space. I'll tell you what I really want to see. How I really think they should proceed with this game going forward. Instead of doing like a major story arc, or instead of really obviously doing a major story arc, right? Instead of like being obvious about it, here's what you should do. Here, Thomas Cryptic, here's a free one. Pick a sector, any sector, in any sector block, and devote an entire update to telling a story about that takes place in that sector. That's it. There can be like a loose thread, right? You're chasing, or like there's some criminal element that you're chasing down, and they're like involved in like some stuff, and that's why you're there. Like there can be like a loose thread tying them, but it's not a universe-ending thing. Just pick a sector of space and tell a story about that sector, and add some patrols in that sector. Like some stuff like the Deferi patrol that runs around, or like the Breen patrol that you have to rescue Deferi captives from. You know, stuff like the Kelvani Belt, Zarya, you know? That sort of stuff. Like one story mission, one good story about a planet or a location in that sector, and some light patrol content. Just do that. Just keep doing that, and you will fill out and you will start massively filling out the entire sector space of this game with stuff to do. And it'll be really slow for old fogies like me who've been around for the entire game, because that'll be a slow process. But for people who are starting up the game, especially if they come in while that process is well underway, they're going to look at all there's to do, and they're going to be like, there is so much stuff to do in this game. Holy crap. That's what you need to do. Just pick a sector and tell a story about that sector, and add some mission content relevant to the things that are in that sector. Right? Like you got the Zenketh sector, tell a story about the Zenkethi. You got the Mizar sector, you know, tell a story about like what's in the Mizar sector. You got the Deneb sector. You've got like Terra Nova right here from Enterprise. Hey, we're doing Enterprise content. Tell a story about that. You got the Teller sector. Tell a story about the Tellarites. You know, we've never seen, like on screen at least, we've never seen Teller Prime. So that's something you have the ability to shape that's never been shown on screen. You know, like Denobula. Let's go to Denobula. Let's have some patrols in Denobulan space. You know, just pick a sector. Let's go. Like Zatar is here and Soria is here. Let's tell a story about Soria. You know, like just start telling Star Trek stories surrounded by like mission like Trailis, for example, Alhina, the Shamar, you know, all that little incidental content that's around K7 that if you look around you'll find. That sort of stuff. That's it. That's really all you have to do. That's all you got to do. You don't have to have like some kind of like huge world-ending plot. Like you could have like I said, just have a loose thread tying everything together. And then, like, at some point, you could, like, here is this arc that corresponds to this thread that tied them together. Here's the next arc that corresponds to this thread that tied them together. You know? You have a sort of myth arc that runs through everything, but it's not the primary focus of the missions up until the point where things start coming to a head towards the end of that particular arc. And then the next arc begins. instead of it being a world-ending threat all the time. You know, or you could handle it like there's two reactions people will give when I mention the game I'm about to mention. A Final Unity. People either are like, oh, I remember that game, or they're like, oh, I fucking remember that game. Like, people either loved that game or hated it. But it did explore some really crazy worlds and tell some really interesting stories corresponding to each of those worlds and locations, that also had this through line, this narrative through line that finally comes to a head towards the end of the game. You know, what starts off as like a crisis with like some inhabitants of the neutral zone evolves over the course of a long story arc into a race against time to discover some like leftover technology from an ancient species that Spectrum Holobyte created called the Chodak, to keep it out of, shall we say, unworthy hands. Or ill-intentioned hands, I should say. Let's see. Enter the Badlands.